This baby has been reincarnated in the same family 3 times. This time I have finally come to this world as a man. The fortune-telling blind man said he was destined to die by the age of 9. Little did he know that his fate would be severely affected by the blind man. Not only was I weak and sickly since childhood, moreover, strange events continued to surround him. Not only did his own dog go wild with excitement upon seeing him. Even walking by the river would provoke 10-meter-long fish wanting to swallow him. Since his birth, the family has been plagued by bad luck. Watching Grandpa Chuenzi grow increasingly haggard, the famous barber sauce master from the village was invited, trying to change his fate by shaving his head. After Master Kilayo finished cutting the boy's hair, he realized that the child's life was not meant to end. After obtaining the family's consent, they hurriedly left the house. Thanks to Master Layo's incredible foresight, as soon as they stepped outside, 2 vengeful spirits entered the courtyard. No time to think too much. The master brought the skewers to the ghost carriage in on King Long Mountain. As soon as he entered the room, the craftsman opened his toolbox. Suddenly, a talisman was slapped onto Chuenzi's forehead. 2 silver needles were swiftly pierced into his temple. Finally, a lit candle was placed on the ground. The reason Master Layo brought the skewer here, it's because the Shiki follow a different path. The vengeful spirit cannot enter the territory of Lord Rakshasa. As the sharp crow of the rooster sounded, the master craftsman removed the talisman from the forehead of the. He then lit the talisman paper with a lighter and tossed it into a bowl of water. The master then fed the talisman water to Chuenzi. After Chuenzi finished drinking the talisman water, the bloodline of Shu Sheng Kingzi has returned to normal. The originally apathetic suddenly felt hunger as their stomach let out a growl upon seeing the food. It turns out the chef gave him a type of mushroom called oi that grows on corpses. Later, when mother saw Chuenzi safe and sound, she was incredibly excited. Ligia Ren also expressed sincere gratitude to Master Layo for his life-saving kindness. At this moment, Master Layo said that there were problems with the construction of his house, because from the perspective of the dark terrain, this house is built right on top of a grave. This type of house is called Invite the Ghost. As the name suggests, once someone passes away in the village, the soul-reaping ghostly messenger will come to their home. A baby girl born under this house will not survive, but the male infant, even after birth, has an unstable spirit. But Grandpa said this place was examined by a feng shui master and is a treasure. The chef realized that this was done intentionally by someone. So I advised Grandpa to tear down the house to investigate. Grandpa, who has been unlucky for over a decade, also wants to understand the intricacies within. He immediately called a group of young men from the village to tear down the house. But when the young men dug down to the low base, he found that the sand, which should have been muddy or even waterlogged, was actually as dry as quicksand. The old man instructed everyone to keep running. To their surprise, they uncovered a skeleton of a python inside. Originally, this mountain resembled a dragon's head with a giant serpent buried within. This is a prime feng shui location for the 2 dragons playing with a pearl. Those who build upon it will surely attain wealth and prosperity, strong bodies, and a humble spirit. But if the immortals' remains are buried here, it will turn into a calamity that disrupts the fortune of this place. Thus, the families living here would face continuous misfortune, even losing their luck. After the feng shui master informed the old man about the situation, the blame was directed at the only wealthy family in the village, the Liu family. But Liu Huashen, after hearing this, started to splash water and said he was spitting on people in the cold snow. As the master craftsman was about to burn the unclaimed coffin, This woman again calls everyone superstitious tomb raiders. He also said he would tell him that the men had captured them. The young man in the village couldn't stand his face and wanted to confront him, but was stopped by the old man. After all, arguing with unreasonable people is like playing the lute to a cow. After finishing a chaotic scene, Master Lyo said he wanted to take Chuenzi somewhere. After Chuenzi arrived at a hotel with him, he asked what he was doing there. The master asked Chuenzi to check if there were any strange places in the building. The naive Chuenzi looked towards the building as he was told. Sure enough, a plume of black smoke was seen from above, so he hurriedly informed him of the exact location of the black smoke. The master craftsman extended his palm. Then, with a bang, a pigeon appeared. He held a matchstick in the dove's beak, pointing to the top of the building. He quickly flew towards the black smoke. In the blink of an eye, the pigeon returned with a key in its beak. At this moment, Chuenzi curiously asked him why he wanted to give the pigeon a matchstick. The master craftsman told him it was a method to prevent him from making any noise and being discovered. Just as Chuenzi was in shock, with a puff, the pigeon vanished from Master Lyo's hands. On the way home, Chuenzi excitedly said he wanted to learn this skill to steal from Liu Huashen's house. Although Master Lyo agreed, he still warned Chuenzi not to use it for bad things. He suddenly turned his head to look towards the building. In that pitch-black area stood a person. Originally, Chuenzi thought it would be a simple process. I never expected this was all carefully planned by Master Lyo. The only witch in the village, Ma Shen, hurriedly came to find Master Lai, the barber, for help. Since Master Lyo helped the Yang family break the curse of the robberies feng shui last time, the fame began to spread throughout the surrounding villages. Ma Shen came this time, driven by curiosity. Master Lyo decided to go help, considering they were all from the same hometown. Let Chuenzi guard the house well. The starter ingredient cried out, insisting on going too. The master told him that the place of the dead has too much negative energy. It's better not to go since Chuenzi has just been released from the hospital and is still unstable. Chuenzi just won't give up. He has witnessed Uncle Lyo's abilities. I just want to follow Uncle Lyo and learn some skills. After a playful display of cuteness, Uncle Lyo had no choice. I could only agree to take him with me. Uncle Kelying once said, "You can go, but you must listen more, watch more, and speak less." Everything follows Uncle Lyo's command. Chuenzi nodded repeatedly after hearing this. Then Uncle Lyo broke the strings and followed Ma Shen to a household in the mountains. This family is holding a funeral. Ma Shen told Master Lyo, "This is the old man he was talking about." The elderly man's eldest daughter meets Ma Shen, brought a wise person. They led them into the inner hall. Lift the curtain of the back hall. The master noticed that the old man was indeed only wearing one shoe. Moreover, this old man has a figure like a number. The brain is only the size of a human fist. The master craftsman observed carefully. Then I compared the ingot shoes again with the old man's right foot. I found that the shoes are indeed smaller. The chef pondered for a moment. He reached out to take off the old man's cloud socks. Who would have thought? The moment I took off my socks, the master craftsman was startled. The old man gently lifted his right foot. The thumbnail is dark and purplish, sharp and long, filled with heavy humidity. Just as Master Lyo was filled with surprise. Suddenly, the voice of the old man's daughter shouted from outside. If I had known earlier, I would have invited Deist Wang from Dongtu village. After a long time, still no sign of movement. Inquire with the master craftsman for a solution. But Master Lyo told him, "For this matter, we can only watch helplessly." Unhappiness knows this well. Ma Shen looked down. I saw the old man's black nails. As the only witch in the village, he, just a glance, immediately understood what was going on. This is the moment to debate. But Master Liao told him, it's not just a simple trial debate. Immediately he let Ma Shen go call the old man's family over. The old man's daughter entered the back hall. He acted very impatiently. He felt deep down in his heart, Master Liao is just a fraud who tricks people with his tricks. After dragging it out for half the day, just want to trick a bit more money. The master chef advised him to be patient. Then 3 incense sticks were lit. Let him take a good look. Master Liao lit 3 incense sticks, inserted between the old man's legs. Time is running out. Everyone was amazed to discover the incense near the old man's right foot clearly burns faster than the other 2. The master craftsman warned the old man's daughter, it's best to cremate the old man. You saw it too. What does the old man want? Before Liao Fan could say the words, try to argue, the old man's daughter immediately interrupted and cursed loudly. Let them burn the old man. Isn't this equivalent to? He snapped his fingers, extinguished the candle beside. The old man's daughter was a bit scared, thought the master craftsman wanted to teach him a lesson. Who would have known? The master chef unexpectedly took out something from the box he carried with him, took out a beef tallow candle. He wants to let the old man's daughter know, to see for myself the reason why the old man must be cremated. The chef told the other 3 people present. Next, he will light this candle beside the corpse. However, once the candle is lit, strange things will happen. Remind them, no matter what you see, remember this. Don't make a sound. She's considered a half-witch in the same line of work. Ma Shengxin understood immediately. Follow Master Liao. The visitors were also willing to listen and comply. But the old man's daughter looked completely disdainful. I think Master Liao is just putting on a show. The master craftsman swiftly struck a match to light the candle. The 4 sat quietly around the candle, waiting. At this moment, a sizzling sound came from behind the chef. Only darkness can be seen. Gradually, the pale face of the old man emerged. The old man suddenly lunged at the shoulders of the master craftsman. The 4 people present. Only the chef remained calm. The other 3 were trembling in fear, especially the old man's daughter. At this moment, the old man's eyes were glazed over. I heard my daughter scream just now. He directly leaned his head towards his daughter. The old man's daughter is now trembling in fear. The old man continued to make a squeaking sound like a mouse. Suddenly, the old man suddenly turned his head to look at Ma Shen. Ma Shen was suddenly startled. Sweat poured down in fear. Meanwhile, the string of beads. Then frightenedly clutched Master Liao's sleeve tightly. During this time, everyone was definitely scared, but everyone tried to stay quiet. The old man couldn't hear the sounds, slowly retreated from the shoulders of the master craftsman, gradually sinking into darkness. Immediately after, the master chef blew out the candle, snapped a finger. The window of the room suddenly opened. The sunlight shines in from outside. Fresh air outside the window. It also dispersed the gloom in the room. Chuanzi and Ma Shen, finally at ease, breathing heavily, the old man's daughter. Yet still I have lingering fears, shivering with fear. I can't help but feel doubtful. Did what just happened really occur? The master chef sensed her doubts. She pointed to the old man's soles for her to see. The old man's daughter looked down. Suddenly my heart skipped a beat. The old man's feet were covered in dust. This is enough to prove. The old man really did get out of bed just now. Everything that just happened in the darkness. It is not an illusion either. The chef asked the old man's daughter, "What work did the old man do in his lifetime? How is the economic situation? Do you have a hobby of collecting jewelry or antiques?" The old man's daughter witnessed the skilled abilities of the master craftsman. The previously arrogant demeanor has subdued considerably. Tell Master Lyo. Her father was the leader of the village during his lifetime. But economically, they are as poor as can be. Only a broken grass hut remains, let alone jewelry and antiques. Master Lyo listened. "Since that's the case, I won't disturb you any further." The woman also saw what just happened. As for how to handle it, let their family discuss it among themselves. Before leaving, the chef turned back to remind them, "She can be sure, if we don't cremate now, it won't take long. It still needs to be cremated, but when the time really comes, it might hurt the innocent. This is probably not what you hoped to see as children, right? That's it." The chef took the skewer and turned to leave. Just arrived at the intersection, but then I was stopped by Massachusetts. She felt that Master Lyo's way of leaving was not a solution. However, Master Lyo felt that she has done everything that needed to be done. The old man clearly wanted to try everything. If her children still insist on a direct burial, don't mention their family. Even the entire village might suffer. But Massachusetts is very curious. What is the purpose of Master Lyo inquiring about their family's financial situation? The chef did not want to explain. Moreover, that is someone else's privacy. Since the other party doesn't want to say much, she doesn't need to say much either. Just as the chef turned to leave, a shout came from behind. It turns out to be the old master's son. She also wants to know, why did the master inquire about the father's profession while he was alive? The chef answered, "There are certainly explanations, but you may not believe it. So it's better not to say anything." The old man's son, upon hearing this, he began to speak about his father's past. The old man's son claimed, "My father fought alongside the army when he was young. He is also someone with military achievements. Logically, one shouldn't face such retribution." The master craftsman understood immediately. He told the man, "Your father is the legendary ground mouse, and his right foot was his footwork. During the War of Resistance, many corpses are buried underground." The old man's skills in underground dealings. It's inevitable to encounter corpses. It is highly likely that there is too much corpse poison accumulated, which has led to today's situation. But the man still felt some doubt. If what the fortune teller said is true, so they have so many brothers and sisters, why has father never mentioned it? The chef sighed. This is precisely what makes the old man remarkable. Deist arts. As the name suggests, it's a method of theft. Once mastered, if one harbors malicious thoughts, deist's wealth, ordinary people can't defend against it at all. The old man practiced this martial art back in the day. It is for wartime needs. Nowadays, the world is at peace. This skill naturally no longer needs to be used. Not telling the children. It is also fear that someone in the family might harbor evil thoughts. Tears couldn't help but moisten my eyes. The master chef advised this big brother, "It's better to cremate the old man quickly." After all, the old man was wise throughout his life. It's best to let him leave with dignity, to avoid experiencing an undeserved ending again. Moreover, if they wish to be buried together as a couple, the 5 emblems or a certain realm can replace the physical body. At this moment the man was crying uncontrollably. after listening to the words of Master Lyo, immediately bowed and thanked, thanks to Master Lyo's guidance. Their family is unlikely to make a major mistake. Seeing this situation, Ma Shen, beside him, could not help but give a thumbs up, continuously praising the master craftsman for his true skill. Afterward, the master craftsman then bid farewell to Chuenzi and Ma Shen. Back home, in the days that followed, Chuenzi continued to live at Uncle Lyo's house. He discovered that Uncle Lyo's study was filled with many picture books. I feel like I've discovered a treasure. On the wall beside is a painting of a ghost-catching Taoist priest. The Taoist in the painting is shaving the head of a white-haired, red-skinned ghost. Chuenzi felt very strange. Is there really a ghost catcher who shaves ghosts' heads? Uncle Lyo explained. This ghost is not that ghost. This is a person who walks with ghosts. It speaks of the hidden intentions in people's hearts, rather than me being a ghost. In this world, there are many people with hidden agendas. It's just that it doesn't show on the surface. Chuenzi asked Uncle Lyo again, has he ever shaved a ghost's head? Uncle Lyo touched the head of the string. He replied with a smile, he is a person. How could one possibly give a haircut to a ghost? On a certain day after this, a chubby man in a suit suddenly paid a visit. He wanted to ask a specialized barber for the deceased to help him get a haircut. And it's not just an ordinary haircut, but the legendary wealth-bringing head. The so-called wealth haircut doesn't mean you'll become rich immediately just by getting it. But the barber used a special technique. When the person getting shaved removes the filth and gloom from their body, transforming the guests, everything goes smoothly when working. Afterward, if one wishes to get rich, it will naturally come to fruition. But this skill is not something that just anyone can master. When Chuenzi was young, he had seen the village barber, Master Lyo, once helped someone shave. One day, a chubby man with an oily hairstyle and heavy makeup came to visit. He immediately asked Master Lyo to help him get a prosperous haircut. The master craftsman shook his hand with ease. Invite him to sit inside. It seems this isn't the first time shaving this head. Then Master Lyo lit 3 incense sticks, bowed before the altar. Then he spread out the barber's cloth and wrapped it around the fat man. Only then did Master Lyo take out his scissors. Start a haircut. Zuo Yidao. Right cut. Swinging wildly in all directions. Soon a brand new chicken coop was born. At this moment, the fat man was laughing sinisterly. Mr. Shen claims to be skilled. The nearby sword-shaped object almost burst out laughing. So I quickly covered my mouth with my hand. Master Lyo's cut seems completely random, but in reality, there is a lot to it. Immediately following that, the master chef revealed the razor, starting to shave the head of the pansy. Suddenly, the knife struck down. Dagger's edged sword's tip. No reward will be given. A shiny bald head style is successfully completed. Master Lyo put away his tools. The chubby man looked at himself in the mirror, feeling quite satisfied. He immediately pulled out a wad of cash and sewed it up. Goodbye, I'm leaving. Looking at the large stack of cash on the table, Chuenzi was shocked. I can't believe getting a haircut costs so much. At this moment, the master suddenly said he would perform a magic trick for the string. When Chuenzi heard about the magic card, Lai Ma was extremely happy. Then Master Lyo shook out the shaving cloth, blew a breath onto the white cloth. In the middle of the white cloth, it feels like being lifted by a sphere and floating into the sky. Chuenzi was amazed at the sight. In the blink of an eye, the white cloth released a puff of gas, slowly turned into a floating head. Chuenzi was taken aback. Isn't that the wealthy guy who just got a haircut? At this moment, Master Lyo picked up the razor again and swiftly made the cut. The chubby man with an oiled hairstyle instantly became bald. Master Lyo snapped his fingers. The bald head instantly vanished into thin air. Chuanzi was left speechless by this magic trick. He begged the master craftsman to teach him this magic trick. There is always a gap. In the blink of an eye, Chuanzi has grown up. But he did not manage to get into high school as he wished. But because of poor grades, after graduating from junior high, I went to work at a clothing factory in the city. It was instead the father of Chuanzi. Later, I found a craftsman to shave a few times for a wealth hairstyle. Sweep away the bad luck of the past 10 years. Made some unexpected money. Chuanzi also wants the master to give him a wealthy hairstyle, but Master Lyo refused to agree. He thought that if he gave Chuanzi a fortune shave now, instead it will harm him for a lifetime. The previous example is the Liu Huashen family. Since the last time at the MRT Feng Shui Bureau, less than a year after being deciphered by Master Billy, Liu Hua's husband was arrested for embezzlement and bribery. The family fortune suddenly collapsed. Liu Huashen later also went to the city to live with the children. From then on, I dared not show my face in the village again. Therefore, one must never engage in immoral deeds. The barber is giving Chuanzi's dad a haircut. That's because Chuanzi's dad has already turned his fortune around. Getting a prosperous haircut naturally leads to success. But shaving a Chuanzi's head is different. At this moment, Chuanzi is preparing for the journey. Forcing a haircut is reversing one's fate. Chuanzi sees that the master is unwilling to shave him. Then we can only give up here. There are many ways to get rich anyway. After the incident, Chuanzi unexpectedly developed a drug addiction. In just 6 months, I not only lost all my savings. He even apologized for the 30,000 yuan gambling debt. The creditors pressured him to repay the money within a week. Otherwise, kill his whole family. Xuanzi returned home with a swollen face and a bruised nose. His parents found out that he had become addicted to drugs. He even owes over 30,000 in gambling debts. In a moment, I felt like my lungs were about to explode. Let him roll out and never come back to this home. But scolding is still scolding. After all, they are still my own child. To help Chuanzi pay off his debts. Chuanzi's parents are raising money everywhere. Chuanzi has been deceived. Upon hearing these words, Chuanzi's dad was quite surprised. But even when deceived, they also dare not refuse to return it. The other party is a group of thugs. Once you owe, you never return. The consequences could be very serious. But Uncle Lyo said, "Where there is one, there will be two." Paying back the money now is no different from drinking poison to quench thirst. The other party will continue to entangle. Now we need to put an end to this once and for all. Uncle Lyo reassured Chuanzi's parents. Chuanzi can handle this. Uncle Lyo took the string of coins and the money, headed to the meeting place to repay the debt. However, before repaying the money, Uncle Lyo suggested playing a couple of rounds first. The other party took a look. Unexpectedly, Fat Yang came to offer himself. She happily agreed, but Uncle Lyo would not do as they wished. The arrangement is still the same. Uncle Lyo faces 3 opponents. The other party thought they had it all under control. The beginning of the story. I also don't have high hopes for this gamble. In his impression, Uncle Lyo has always been in the village, a barber who specializes in shaving the heads of the deceased. I have never seen him participate in any gambling, and in fact, it was exactly as he expected. Uncle Lyo lost a few rounds right away. Moreover, the dealing technique was very stiff, just a glance, and you can tell they are still a novice. But as the stakes grew higher, the situation unexpectedly began to turn around. It's obvious to anyone with insight. Uncle Lio's performance skills making incredible progress at an astonishing speed. The card dealing technique has become increasingly refined. It's simply dazzling to behold. So dizzying. The three thugs were left speechless. In no time, everything was lost. These three people are quite clever. I know today I've encountered a remarkable person. Immediately take the initiative to kick out. Clear all previous gambling debts in one go. Afterward, Uncle Lio doesn't have their money either. Just warning them for the future. Do not get entangled again. This time, Uncle Lio helped Chuenzi with a big favor again. At the same time, because of this matter, Chuenzi gradually started to focus. From that day on, the road turns over a new leaf. In 2 years' time, from a worker, unexpectedly promoted to the youngest teen leader. All of this is thanks to Uncle Lio. To celebrate Chuenzi's promotion, Chuenzi's family specially prepared a feast, inviting Master Lio to come to our home as a guest. Everyone is joyfully drinking at the dining table, 3 cups and 2 bowls down the hatch. Master Lio suddenly became serious. Sternly asked Chuenzi, "Do you still want to learn his skills now?" Master Lio had promised Chuenzi, when Changzai turned 18, he used all his skills. Heartfelt confessions. When Chuenzi heard this, those who once knew Uncle Lio, the magic we experienced together, the powerful forces are right before us. Just as Chuenzi was excitedly getting ready to nod in agreement, Chuenzi's father suddenly stood up to interrupt the conversation. Raise the glass to toast Master Lio. Master Lio glanced over. It became clear what this means. Chuenzi's work here has just stabilized. His father clearly did not want his son distracted by learning other things. Moreover, Master Lio's skills. In modern society, it is feudal superstition, even if it's learned well. In the future, you won't be able to rely on this to establish yourself in society. Visited Uncle Lio. But I always run into Uncle Lio being out for something. On the phone, Uncle Lio was taciturn, but they always have trouble saying a few words. Later on, Chuenzi found a partner. 1 or 2 years later, gradually drifted apart from Uncle Lio. During this time, the business of Chuenzi is going smoothly, even running for the deputy minister of the factory. But on the day of the campaign speech, Chuenzi suddenly received a phone call. On the phone, Chuenzi's mother informed Chuenzi, "Master Lio is about to die." This sentence is like a bolt from the blue. Chuenzi was taken aback. How could Uncle Lio possibly die? Everything at the moment is for Chuenzi. No longer matters. So he gave up on this election, turned around and rushed out the door, running wildly toward Uncle Lio's house. Arrived outside Uncle Lio's house, he saw that familiar figure again. Pushing the door open, I looked in. Uncle Lio is indeed still alive. Uncle Lio was currently helping someone with a haircut. Turning around, I saw Chuenzi hurrying over. She smiled faintly. "Chuenzi, you've grown taller. People have also matured." Seeing Uncle Lio's skewer again, still unable to speak properly. After Uncle Lio finished his work, the two sat down to discuss in detail. Uncle Lio told Chuenzi, "Cancer cells have already spread throughout my body. Now there is little time left." But he also advised Chuenzi not to be too sad. After all, everyone will die. He has already donated all his money to build a school in the village. There's nothing left to give to Chuenzi. Why not take this opportunity to help Chuenzi find a way to get rich? Chuenzi is a bit worried about his health, but Master Liao stated, "There's still some strength in picking up a head." At that time, Chuenzi asked Uncle Liao to help him find a way to get rich, but Uncle Liao was unwilling to agree. It is said that it can be requested, but not saved. What they said is indeed true. To gain benefits through improper means, that is destiny. But now Chuenzi is thriving in his career, also willing to be self-reliant. At this moment, the shaved head symbolizes good fortune, rather than fate. Master Liao always wanted to pass on his skills to Chuenzi, but due to various coincidences, it couldn't be realized. Now is just the right time to take advantage of the shaving. It's just right to chat with Chuenzi when there's nothing to do. The craft of shaving heads. Ancestors often say there are 360 trades in the world, but no matter how many lines. Ultimately, it all boils down to 13 categories. As the idiom says, it's a variety of choices, and among them the profession of barbering. This belongs to the Fengmen faction among the 8 gates. This journey can be divided into 2 categories. One type is the sharp path. One type is the heart path. Those we know who make a living by managing hair belong to the Giant Dao. In the past, they carried burdens on their shoulders. The wandering barber. Fang Ziyan is the barber in the hair salon. These people are all from Giant Dao. Uncle Liao belongs to another category. Zindao. Zindao originally was not meant for giving haircuts, but specifically for executing prisoners, and the execution is not just a simple beheading. Instead, it is kanze, also known as the hair-cutting punishment. This haircut is not as simple as just cutting hair. Kunxing is actually a method of cutting off a person's vitality. Chuenzi is curious about what pubic hair is. Uncle Liao explained. Hair grows from essence and blood, and the dark hair represents the essence within the body. Kunxing can block the generation of vital essence. Ancient people emphasized their status. Everyone must continue to keep long hair and practice the art of hairstyling. If the kun punishment is applied, hair will no longer grow. In ancient times, there were no wigs available. When going out, I can only face others with a bald head. Others can tell at a glance. This guy is a shameless sinner. This might be the earliest case of social death in history. Therefore, the kun Xingyuan must understand the art of kaimen. A Kunxing official during the Three Kingdoms period, Song Qi will share his years of execution experience. It has been written into a whimsical tale. This refers to the methods of Kunxing. As time went by, the methods of Kunxing are continuously improving. It's no longer just about simply blocking someone's life. Some can even force people to give birth, sabotaging others' luck. In short, some of these methods are simply shocking. Chuenzi felt that this haircut was. It seems somewhat similar to laying bones. But Uncle Liao told Chuenzi to raise insects for bone nourishment. No matter how clever the means, there are traces to follow. But Kunxing only needs a knife, can determine life and death. Gods and demons exist in a single thought, mysterious yet whimsical. So one must never offend the barber. Otherwise, you won't even know how you died. Speaking of which, the head of the has been shaved clean. It's strange to say, Chuenzi has just gotten a haircut. You feel refreshed and invigorated. The mind also became much clearer in an instant. At this moment, Uncle Liao handed a to Chuenzi. The 4 big characters on the door read, "Seal the door." He won't need these things in the future. Let's just leave it to Chuenzi. Before the words had faded away, Uncle Liao suddenly felt weak, fell to the ground, fainted on the spot. In the morning hall, in the middle of the night, a baby's cry suddenly echoed. The string of offerings for the deceased Uncle Lio is being prepared. Ran outside to check. He discovered, this voice seems to come from a guardian's home in the village. This left him somewhat puzzled. Which adult is at home late at night? Will take care of the crying child, put aside and ignored. Suddenly the crying grew louder. It felt as if I were covered by a blanket. Chuanzi thought to himself, there must be something strange about this. At this moment, the candle behind me suddenly made a sound like a pipa. Ignite the lingering wolf fire. Chuanzi felt, this seems to be Uncle Lio's spirit in heaven. Master Lio's unique skill of shaving heads was a secret technique. Passed to Chuanzi. Chuanzi just flipped through it during the wake. Fangju Lio Shu's skills. Truly profound and extensive. Xuanzi made up his mind. I plan to study it thoroughly. It also fulfills Uncle Lio's last wish, inheriting away from him. Xuanzi thought to himself, if at this moment Uncle Lio encountered such a situation, he will definitely take care of it. Uncle Lio is no longer here. It's time for him to do something for Uncle Lio. So, Chuanzi picked up Uncle Lio's razor. Take off the school uniform. Run out of the morning hall, running towards the direction of the crying sound. As the crying grew closer, Chuanzi discovered that the sound actually came from Lai Donaming's house at the village entrance, and the crying seems to have quieted down. Upon closer inspection, Lai Donaming's front door was wide open. It surprisingly emitted a faint dark mist. Clearly, there must be something fishy about this. Then Chuanzi quickly stepped forward. As he threw away the razor, shadows and red light began to emerge on the blade. The wooden door with the crossbar, looking into the house. Only the dimly lit room was visible. Lai Donaming's family of 3 is dozing in the living room. Then Xuanzi pointed the glowing razor at the 3 people. They showed no reaction. Confirm that these 3 people are just asleep. Just then, suddenly, there was a noise coming from the nursery next door. Chuanzi picked up the razor and slowly moved closer. A sudden gust of wind swept through Kai-Fai's room. Chuanzi holds the knife defensively. The waste wind was instantly split apart. In an instant, Chuanzi saw a pair of feet wearing yellow cloth shoes. It flew over her head. Until the wild wind blows through, the smoke has cleared. Only when the string is pulled tight can the eyes fully open. At this moment, the red light on the razor disappeared. The evil spirit has already escaped. Only then did she remember there were children in the house. Then he quickly stepped forward and ran to the cradle, discovering the baby's small face in the cradle. A purple card. It is already about to be outdated. At this moment, the razor in the hands of Chuanzi glimmered red once more. Is it related to this baby? So, the thug brought the razor close to the baby, suspended directly above the baby. A cloud of smoke rose from the baby's face. Inhale the razor's edge. The baby's complexion gradually returned to normal. The last wisp of dark energy escaped from the baby's mouth. The baby has finally fully recovered. At this moment, Chuanzi was drenched in cold sweat. Finally, I can take a deep breath before she could regain her composure. The door behind me let out another series of coos. Chuanzi suddenly turned around to look with the razor in hand. But I saw 3 human heads lying on the door frame, staring fiercely at oneself. They are exactly the same family of 3 from before. Chuanzi was chilled to the bone by this scene. I don't know what to do. She has no way to avoid it now. Only by gritting our teeth and facing it head on. She remembered that the strange book left by the materials had records. The middle finger has the strongest yang energy. Biting the middle finger, I wrote the character for retreat in my palm with blood. This method is remarkably effective against low-level evil spirits with weak magical resistance. Let's not worry about that for now. You'll only know if you try. Then Chuenzi immediately bit through his middle finger. The pain in my fingertips instantly engulfed my entire body. It hurt so much that tears streamed down her face. She wrote the word retreat in blood on her palm. The palm faces directly towards the door. The room was instantly filled with golden light. The three people illuminated by the door. Suddenly there was a thud outside the door. Then there was a moment of silence. That's it done. At this moment Chuenzi still had some doubts. Stepping outside, I looked around. Lai Dongming's family has collapsed and lost consciousness. This confirms that the matter has been resolved. This magical book really works. It's not a solution to just let them lie there like that. Then Chuenzi snapped his fingers. Wake up, Lai Dongming. Lai Dongming, who had been in a coma, opened his eyes, discovering in the late night they is actually at his home, holding his youngest son in his arms. I feel a bit puzzled and restless in my heart. Chuenzi felt a bit embarrassed about this too. I think it's better to wait for your sister-in-law to wake up before explaining. 10 minutes later, Lai Dongming's family has all woken up. Chuenzi explained the background of the matter to them. Tonight, he was supposed to be keeping vigil for the deceased Liu Shu. Unexpectedly, the sound of a baby's cry came from Lai Dongming's home. Chuenzi felt that something was off, rushing over in a hurry. Unexpectedly, their family was indeed possessed by an evil spirit. Their baby also nearly lost its life because of this. Lai Dongming was extremely grateful after hearing that. I really owe it to the kebabs tonight. This is also quite strange. Such an absurd thing. Lai Ji had no doubts at all, just believed it directly. Lai Ji stated, he never doubted, because he fainted just now. I saw many strange and unusual things. I feel like I've been walking in the mountains. It feels like a blood collision. Moreover, something has recently happened in the village. Several incidents of innocent infant deaths. This sentence struck Chuenzi like a bolt of lightning. He didn't expect it. In the village, a child has already fallen victim to foul play. What was that thing just now, a human or a monster? If it's a demon, how could you be so cowardly as to flee without a fight? If it's a person, the pair of yellow cloth shoes just now. But whose person is it? On the way back, these questions have been troubling Chuenzi, until Chuenzi returned to Uncle Liu's morning hall. A surge of longing welled up from the depths of my heart. If only Uncle Liu were still here. But now Uncle Liu is dead. Chuenzi ultimately has to face everything alone. So he changed back into his school uniform, sitting on Uncle Liu's money. Once again I flipped through that book, Fengmin Kishu. The current urgent priority. We need to first clarify what that evil spirit was. Suddenly, Chuenzi found a record about Bairishu in the book. This is a kind of transparent dark magic. In the early stages of cultivation, one can only use techniques at night. During the day, just like any ordinary person. So it's called the white day longevity. Cultivating this technique. At night, one can attach their soul to small animals. After sneaking into someone else's home and enchanting the adults, absorb the baby's vital energy again, thus enhancing one's power. The method to dispel it is quite simple. With a bucket of manure and a 20-year-old fishing net, then they can capture it. Upon reaching this point, Chuenzi quietly pondered in the presence of the monk. Uncle Liu's book on Fengmin Kaishu is truly impressive. Inside, there are all sorts of bizarre and unique arts. All is meticulously recorded. After completing my studies, I still can't ascend to the heavens. If this falls into the hands of someone with ill intentions, the consequences are simply unimaginable. Chuanzi never expected it. Uncle Lio trusted him so deeply. So, the next night, according to the records in the book, prepared a bucket of manure water and an old fish net, quietly waiting, but he waited all night, until the rooster crows. Yet the appearance of Bai Rai Shu has never been seen. In the following days, Uncle Lio's body was buried. Uncle Lio is gone. Chuanzi feels deeply connected to the village that raised him, no longer harboring any attachments, until he boarded the bus back to the city. Then Bai Rishu never appeared again. Chuanzi thought to himself, perhaps he has already been scared away by himself, just as Chuanzi basked in the sunset. Prepare to close your eyes when you're feeling petty. He suddenly realized that something was wrong. If Uncle Lio and he are not in the village, will the White Day festival make a comeback? Perhaps that night the other person recognized themselves. Today I watched him leave. It is very likely to act again. Then Chuanzi immediately called for the car to stop, hastily got off the car and headed straight for the village. I noticed that this house emanates a faint black aura. Occasionally, a cooing sound could be heard. It must be here. So, Chuanzi immediately grabbed the dung bucket and rushed towards the house. As the door was burst open, Chuanzi saw a large crow is perched at the head of the baby's crib, sucking the oxygen from the baby. So, Chuanzi grabbed the dung bucket and shouted, "The monster suffers this." A bucket of sewage splashed right onto the crow. The crow fell to the ground, writhing in pain and screaming. As soon as Chuanzi looked over, this method is indeed useful. Immediately following that, Chuanzi dropped the dung bucket, reaching to touch the waist. Only then did they realize they hadn't brought the old fishing net. At this moment, the crow had recovered and approached, eyes wide open for food, emitting a faint, gentle light. Chuanzi turned back to take a look. This is bad. The crow's wings were approaching fiercely, as the enormous claws lunged towards them. Chuanzi regrets returning the fishing net so early. The final critical moment. I can only tightly shut my eyes, accept your brief and hurried fate. However, the fate of it did not end here. The huge bird's claw did not catch anything. The cries have quieted down. Chuanzi slowly opened his eyes. The scene before him stunned him. Uncle Lio, who had passed away, unexpectedly reappeared, and shielded Chuanzi from that giant monster bird. "Chuanzi, you have suffered during this time. Let me tell you the whole story of the—" Uncle Lio then turned to look at the crow. The crow caught by Uncle Lio. At this moment it continues to howl incessantly, want to break free from Uncle Lio's restraints. But Uncle Lio gripped with one hand, let the crow close its mouth. Uncle Lio told Chuanzi, "This monster hides very deeply. That's why they have never been able to catch him." To make him walk into the trap, Uncle Lio then performed a fake death act. Let the other party be careless. Finally succeeded in one decisive move. I never expected to have the strings tangled in. But the Chuanzi is still quite resilient. Such rapid progress in just a few days. Uncle Lio felt a sense of comfort about this matter. Chuanzi wipes away his tears, saying that they can save the child and capture this monster. This little danger is nothing at all. Uncle Lio felt that he had indeed not misjudged the person. The remaining time, let Chuanzi take a good look. How did he deal with this monster? Uncle Lio opened his right hand. Suddenly, he produced a razor with his bare hands. In an instant, the knife fell. A single stroke severed the crow's head. At this moment a heat wave rose from the top of the crow's head. In an instant it turned into a ghostly face, floating gently towards Uncle Lio. At this moment Uncle Lio still had a calm expression. The tricks of a child. Even my disciple can't scare me. Still want to scare. You said it right, Ma Shen. At this moment Ma Shen looked utterly shocked. I was recognized so quickly. The person next to them was also astonished. Is this really Ma Shen? Ma Shen is the only witch in the village. Chuanzi recalled the time he kept vigil for Uncle Lio. Ma Shen had come here once. They must have come to confirm Uncle Lio's death. Ma Shen's anger flared upon being exposed. In an instant it transformed into a mass of malevolence, suddenly pounced on Uncle Lio. Little did they know Uncle Lio grabbed with one hand. Then he grabbed the malevolent energy. How dare you show off your petty skills here at the Bangate? Uncle Lio raised the razor again. With one hand he drew a circle of sealing talismans. In an instant the murderous aura was absorbed into the talisman and transformed into a small sphere. Uncle Lio told Chuenzi, "This is part of Ma Shen's disembodied soul. After being sealed off, others can't run away now." Uncle Lio then threw the small ball to Chuenzi. "Let him report it to the police first. Then bring some glucose. Uncle Lio has been pretending to be dead these days, not eating or drinking. I'm so hungry I could faint." Not long after, the police broke open the door of the Ma Shen family's house. At this moment Ma Shen was slumped in the corner against the wall, as already lost consciousness. There was still a bloody hole painted on the wall behind. Afterwards Ma Shen was taken away by the ambulance. The informant and Uncle Lio were also taken to the police station to give statements. Facing Uncle Lio's talk of ghosts and deities, the officer across seems rather unfriendly. This confession is completely inadequate for him. No one would believe it if I said it. Chuenzi was also a bit annoyed. They were clearly speaking the truth, just getting ready to go back. But Uncle Lio stopped him. Uncle Lio said, "Others' opinions don't matter. Officer, just believe us." The officer listened, immediately turned anger into a smile. He never doubted Master Lio's words. Chuenzi was overjoyed to hear it. "Then please let us go quickly." But Uncle Lio said calmly, "If this officer needs any help, please speak directly, officer." The officer, upon hearing this, Lio Shifu truly has a unique performance style. He recognized his intentions so quickly, so he no longer beat around the bush. Get straight to the point. Recently, he indeed encountered a strange incident. I would like to ask Master Lio for a favor, but this has nothing to do with their greetings. Only the three of them discussed again. Out of this door. Nothing counts any more. Master Lio smiled slightly. "It should be this way." Next, the officer began to tell the story. The strange incident he encountered. The workers discovered while digging the foundation that the ground is as sharp as a rock. It can't be done at all. Laying the foundation on top, like hitting on granite, exerting every possible effort, finally made a hole. The result was just about to pour the cement. But then a problem arose. As long as we pour in the concrete, that hole in the ground keeps gushing out water, and it sprays water dozens of meters high. This is not the strangest part yet. What's even stranger is, as long as nothing is poured into the hole, this cave will become extremely dry. From that day on, this piece of land is left temporarily abandoned there. Not long after, the news gradually spread, because it is a new building for the police station in the city center. So it caused quite a stir for a moment. It caused quite a stir in the city. The impact is very negative. At that time, Officer Wu was working as a technician in the administrative section of the Municipal Bureau, in charge of this project, in the days after the construction site was abandoned. He also returned to the scene for inspection. There, he even found fragments of the owner's joss paper. But none of this is useful. As soon as we start working, strange phenomena will still appear, causing people to be anxious and restless. The department also feels embarrassed. Master Lyo listened to Officer Wu's account. I feel like I can go see it in person. Officer Wu listened with a beaming smile. Praise for Lyo Shifu, a good citizen with chivalrous spirit. He will personally drive to pick up Master Lyo early tomorrow morning. But Master Lyo said, waiting for 3 days. He has just finished dealing with the matter of the daytime waste. Need to rest for a few days. Officer Wu readily agreed. Both parties handshake breach of contract. After leaving the police station, Xuanzi felt a bit upset. Officer Wu just spoke. It is obviously a form of coercion. We haven't done anything wrong. Why did Master Lyo agree to help him? Master Lyo asked Xuanzi to look back at the police station above. Xuanzi thought to himself, above the police station is just the national flag. But when I looked back, he discovered that a fierce-looking statue of a Vajra was perched above the police station. Master Lyo told Xuanzi, an excited demeanor will be reflected in the atmosphere. This is the wrathful Vajra, transformed from the essence of air. It can be demonstrated that the way of doing things here, upright and unyielding, compassionate at heart, adding to what the other party requested. It has indeed caused quite a stir in the city. Extremely poor impact. Can you help solve it? It can be considered a merit. Moreover, the situation in Massachusetts truly cannot be explained by common logic. Once this matter is settled, it is truly mutually beneficial. Why not enjoy it? Additionally, Uncle Lyo just said he wants to rest for 3 days. Actually, it's not. He is just making excuses to delay. Uncle Lyo never fights a battle he isn't confident about. He plans to take advantage of these 3 days. First, go to the construction site to assess the situation, to prepare thoroughly for every eventuality. If he guessed correctly, there is a tremendous creature hidden beneath that land. 3 days later, Master Lyo arrived at the construction site with the skewers as promised. Officer Wu has already arrived early, waiting here for quite some time. As soon as they met, Master Lyo said nothing further. He turned his head and pointed towards the distant skyscraper. Let Officer Wu make the arrangements. They want to go there and take a look. Master Lyo stood on the high building. Pointing at the construction site in front of him, he told Officer Wu, this is the legendary giant turtle's back. If he guessed correctly, beneath this giant turtle's back lies an ancient sea eye. Officer Wu doesn't understand. They are an inland city. Where did the sea eye come from? Master Lyo explains, this is 2 different things. The heavy rain that year controlled the floods. The rise of the Yellow River is much faster than the speed of the mud dam. If it weren't for the giant tortoise stabilizing the sea eye at that time, I'm afraid the consequences could be unimaginable. Therefore, the cities built along the Yellow River today, there are remnants of ancient sea eyes to some extent. As long as this sea eye is filled, building houses and structures here again will no longer face any obstacles. Officer Wu listened. This is simple. Just leave it to him. But Master Lyo immediately added, it's not that simple. There is still a dragon hidden beneath the ground. Where there are sea eyes, there must be earth dragons. To dig the earth, one must catch the earth dragon. Moreover, the earth dragon beneath this palace. Quite a size. Officer Wu optimistically stated. It's just an earth dragon. He'll handle it. Master Liu and Chuenzi were both very surprised. Officer Wu has this skill too. They can even catch the ground dragon. Who would have thought Officer Wu would smile and say, "Isn't earth dragon just an earthworm?" The longest earthworm in the world is only about 2 meters long, although it looks disgusting. But in reality, it doesn't do any harm. Master Liu and Chuenzi were both speechless after hearing that. Then Master Liu explained. The earth dragon he mentioned is not a worm, but rather an unknown reptile similar to a snake, currently discovered in the world. The largest earth dragon can exceed 70 meters in length, weighs as much as 5 tons. Its power can even twist and break. A Soviet armored tank. This is completely a different kind of creature from an earthworm. Officer Wu was taken aback. It's actually 70 meters long. Master Liu, please don't make such jokes. If such a massive creature is hidden underground, it would have been discovered long ago. Master Liu just let out a light sigh. Otherwise, how would you call it a earth dragon? The muddy ground beneath our feet. It's not a simple world. It contains all kinds of strange and unusual creatures. Like the ocean, everyone knows that some kind of giant monster must be living underground. But how many have truly seen it? Officer Wu listened to this. He hurriedly waved his hand and said, "Then let's forget it. If such a creature truly exists, so this construction project is not in operation, right? He doesn't want to bring trouble upon himself." But Master Liu assured Officer Wu to not worry. The earth dragon, although large in size, as long as the guidance is appropriate, it would not cause harm to humans, just like the dragon incident of Yinku back in the day. It is actually a type of earth dragon. Officer Wu asked Master Liu if he had a way to deal with the earth dragon. Master Liu said confidently, "The earth dragon doesn't need to be dealt with, but rather it needs guidance. Now it's all about their luck. If it were the stonegrass crown dragon, it would be better. If you encounter the stone meat earthbound dragon, that's a bit tricky. Listen to the words shiru-er." Officer Wu took a deep breath. It's better not to encounter the Zhendai long, due to the risks associated with the hidden dragon. So we need to seal off the surrounding area in advance. Officer Wu stated that he would arrange things now. Send someone to seal off the surrounding area. But Master Liu insisted it wasn't necessary. "Chuenzi, this is up to you to handle, for safety reasons." Master Liu taught Chuenzi to draw a talisman in advance. Although I am a beginner, the lines drawn look somewhat like ghostly symbols. But Master Liu said, around the construction site, the subordinates were also very curious. Officer Wu actually let them do such a thing. Not long after, Master Liu had pre-ordered a whole pig, and a basket of fruits and vegetables is delivered. Everything is ready now. You can directly proceed to the next step. Master Liu took out a baba compass. Begin searching all around. Finally, in the center of the clearing, Master Liu inserted a bamboo pole. Dig the excavator down right here. Very quickly, the excavator dug out a large pit, until a strange odor permeated the air. Master Liu just waved his hand to stop. Tell the driver to stop digging. Then the excavator climbed up the slope, opened a big pit. Before long, Chuenzi and Officer Wu discovered, in the center of the big pit, a stream of blood bubbled up. Master Liu was also very surprised. Let Chuenzi and Officer Wu hurry to the wall and stand against it. But Master Liu stood still beside the pit. He took a talisman out of his pocket, threw into the vegetable basket. But Master Lyo did not notice. This talisman has been stained with too much blood. When Zion was drawing the talisman, I accidentally dripped too much blood on it. This oversight, soon it will lead to a big mistake. Time is short. The pit was filled with blood. Master Lyo and the three stood against the wall, gently waiting for the earth dragon to appear. Before long, discovered something emerging from the water. A pair of dragon horns surfaced. The earth dragon emerged, drenched in blood. The crimson waves surged. Officer Wu was terrified and panicked. Shout to quickly evacuate the surrounding crowd. But Master Lyo simply looked up calmly at the giant beast. Don't worry about the outside. One should believe in the power of the thread. Found Master Lyo's words somewhat confusing. Believe in my abilities. Is Master Lyo talking about those talismans? At this moment, the construction site is in turmoil. Outside the wall, it is a scene of peace with the sound of birds and the fragrance of flowers. Two officers stood by the wall, yawning with boredom. No one noticed the talisman on the wall behind them. It has already started buzzing. A faint glow began to emerge. In the blink of an eye, a sheet of talisman paper bursts forth and connected a series of lightning bolts. A massive web of electric light was formed by intertwining connections. Covered on the construction site, in an instant a thunderbolt struck down, right in the middle of the dragon's head. The earth dragon lowers its front feet to the ground. The moment of striking the ground, the earth trembled for it. Chuanzi and Officer Wu were stunned by the scene before them. In front of me, the giant dragon opened all 5 eyes, emitting a bewitching glow. Suddenly, a roar echoed as it howled at the sky. The 3 of them stood there, lost in thought, looking up at this giant creature. Immediately after that, the earth dragon looked down. Only then did they discover the pork and vegetables on the ground. Among them, that talisman was particularly eye-catching. As the giant beast approaches, the talismans began to rustle, emitting a strange glow. The earth dragon seems very interested in this talisman. Suddenly it opened its enormous mouth. Inhale the talisman into your belly. Chuanzi was quite surprised to see this. He actually swallowed the talisman paper, but the blood stain on that talisman, it seems to have stirred the appetite of the earth dragon. He suddenly opened his dazed, sleepy eyes. Suddenly it lunged at the skewers with claws bared, wanted to swallow him whole. The little one was scared and standing still, thinking, "Is this coming for me?" At this moment, Officer Wu suddenly rushed out to block the suspect. In an instant, Chuanzi saw Officer Wu's resolute face. Turning around, I saw Lyo Shu's come back. Unexpectedly, I held a green bead ball. Isn't that the bead that seals the binding rope? At the moment when the giant mouth of the earth dragon was about to swallow the 3 of them, Master Lyo grasped it with one hand, directly crushed the beehive in hand. The green ink quickly transformed into a mass of magical seals, appearing behind the scroll. That moment, the talismans outside the construction site also emitted beams of light. Above the blood-soaked construction site, a lightning cage suddenly rises. The lightning wrapped around the earth dragon, sealing it within the container. At this moment, the sealed earth dragon suddenly spoke. "Humanity, let go of me." Chuanzi and Officer Wu looked astonished. The monster actually spoke. Then Lyo Shu drew a circle with the character for B using one hand, slowly flying towards the eye of the earth dragon. The earth dragon howls in pain, claiming that they shouldn't breach the contract to attack humanity. It was his fault. Please let him off this time. Chuanzi and Officer Wu were left speechless. A sudden loud bang echoed. The hovering earth dragon burst forth with dazzling light. When the brilliance fades away, the earth dragon has been sealed within the honeycomb. Officer Wu was astonished upon seeing this. That's truly amazing. If it weren't for Master Liu's intervention, this is still unknown how much loss it will cause. At this moment, the string is also in place, recalling the dazzling flashes of lightning just now. Incredible. This is the power unleashed by my own talisman. At this moment, the manuscript also let out a sigh. Finally trapped this earth dragon. Looking at the green bee ball floating in the air, Officer Wu couldn't help but ask, "How long does this thing need to stay up there? What should we do next?" Officer Wu's words had just left his lips. The beehive suddenly spun rapidly. With a swoosh it was sucked into the clouds. Looking at the overcast sky, Master Liu told Officer Wu, "It's all over. Construction can begin soon." Suspicion of the where was that earth dragon taken? The book informed him. If the earth dragon hadn't just wanted to eat you, perhaps there is still a chance to return to one's habitat. But it goes against the way of heaven. Want to attack humanity. Nature will eventually take it back. Not long after, the sky has cleared up. Officer Wu questions Master Liu. Are there any precautions to take afterwards? The chef told him, "If it doesn't rain tomorrow, after the red liquid in the pit receded, then the foundation can be excavated. If you find a stone tortoise carrying a monument while digging the foundation, remember, never touch it. We need to find a way to integrate it into the foundation. In this way, the feng shui of this place will surely be very prosperous in the future." Officer Wu immediately beamed with joy upon hearing this. That relationship is great. After explaining all this, the master craftsman decided to take the string and leave. Since Chuanzi returned to the city, "I haven't returned home yet." His family must be really worried. Officer Wu thanked repeatedly, promised to visit Master Liu another day. That's it. The Earth Dragon incident has finally come to an end. On the way back, the chef asked about the skewer. He now wants to go back to work at the factory. I still want to learn the craft from Master Liu. At this moment, Chuanzi has gone through several days of adventure. It's truly eye-opening. He answered without hesitation, "Of course I'll follow you," staying in the factory, even if promoted to general manager. It's just a bit more salary. Where can one live so splendidly as being by the side of Master Liu? The master chef listened to these words. "Truly happy from the bottom of my heart. But still, I advise you, it's best to get your parents' permission first." After returning home, Chuanzi discussed this matter with his parents. He was surprised to find, "My parents surprisingly weren't as opposed as before." Perhaps it was because of hearing about Master Liu's death. The family members also began to reflect. Just like that, Chuanzi finally obtained his parents' consent, packed my bags and arrived at Master Liu's house. As soon as we met, the master craftsman then set aside his unique sealing technique, said they want to take Chuanzi to a place. Time is short. The two arrived at a newly renovated storefront. They looked up. The sign reads 5 large characters. Liu Jai Hair Salon. The master chef feels. Since Chuanzi's parents agreed for him to learn the craft from him, we have to do something to put their minds at ease. This barber shop will be their home from now on. Chuanzi can learn the craft from the master here in the future. Facing everything new in the room, Chuanzi was extremely excited. From then on, Master Liu and Chuanzi will embark on a new adventure. Chuanzi woke up from a deep sleep. I found myself kneeling on the ground with my hands covered in writing. a headless rooster in the left hand. There was still a line of writing on the ground. Sliding display cabinet. The employees in the barber shop were all terrified. At this moment, Master Lyo has just returned, opening the door and taking a look, and unexpectedly witnessed this astonishing scene. So I immediately lied and said that Chuenzi had a history of sleepwalking. Let the employees leave work early. After everyone in the store has left, Chuenzi asked the master craftsman, "What's wrong with him?" The master chef told him not to speak. He immediately took out a cigarette. Light it up after placing it in your mouth. Lay it flat in front of the string. At that moment, Master Lyo warned Chuenzi, "Next, please don't speak loudly." The master craftsman asked a question. Chuenzi replied, "You must speak the truth." Chuenzi understood. So the master began to ask questions. He asked if Chuenzi was going to kill the chicken and drink its blood tonight. Chuenzi replied yes. During the day, to steady Chuenzi's hand with the knife, Master Lyo taught Chuenzi a section of the taping charm. This is the method to stabilize one's stance. However, it's the first time practicing this technique. You must chop off the head of a live rooster. Only by drinking its blood can it be effective. Otherwise, from now on, reciting it will have no effect. That night, Chuenzi took advantage of the quietness of the deep night, entered Zishan Park, cut off a rooster's head, a bowl of blood dripped, drinking it all in one go while pinching my nose, silently reciting the taping incantation in my heart. While chanting the incantation, a warm current began to surge within the body of the. I watched as heat rose from my hands. Chuenzi couldn't help but exclaim, "Is this what Uncle Lyo meant by the sense of control?" Afterward, Chuenzi returned to the palace. Suddenly, he felt a wave of drowsiness while sitting on the sofa. So he lay on the sofa and fell asleep. When I wake up again, just now what happened? Uncle Lyo understood everything after hearing that. String, you are possessed. Moreover, it's a great evil. Uncle Lyo felt a bit guilty about this. Claims he is also responsible for this matter. Blame him for not explaining clearly to Chuenzi earlier. Drinking chicken blood not only helps with cultivating martial arts. It may also attract evil spirits. In the damp night, chop off the chicken's head and drink its blood. This is originally a type of ghostly technique. So this ghost was invited onto the body by the string itself. Uncle Lyo asked Chuenzi, "Do you know what Uebiogui means?" Chuenzi shook his head. Uncle Lyo explained, "Uebiogui is the name of the ghost ancestor. You have encountered a fierce ghost this time." When Chuenzi heard this, I immediately felt anxious. Inquire if Uncle Lyo will be in danger. Uncle Lyo told Chuenzi, he can't handle Uebiogui right now. The only way right now is to ask him to leave. However, the ritual of sending off ghosts can only be performed during the day. So tonight, Uncle Lyo will do his best to protect Chuenzi. Wait until dawn to find a way. Chuenzi met Uncle Lyo for the first time and felt a bit uncertain. There is some worry that keeps me awake at night. That Uncle Lyo started washing the rice in the pot, poured the rice washing water over the skewer, immediately opened the rice cooker. I cooked a pot of fragrant glutinous rice. Uncle Lyo served a bowl in front of Chuenzi. Chuenzi is very strange. He is not hungry yet. I don't want a midnight snack for now. Before the string of words was finished, the green-gray mist rushed towards me. The cough of the chest seems never-ending. Uncle Lyo told him, "This is glutinous rice and incense ash. Let Chuenzi be careful next." Immediately after, Uncle Lio inserted 3 incense sticks into the glutinous rice again, sat across from Chuenzi all night. When the sky outside brightened up, Master Lio had the skewer put on a thick outfit, wrapped up tightly. "Let's go. Let's set off now." Master Lio asked Chuenzi to take him to the place where he practiced last night. Not long after, the two arrived at Zishan Park, but at this moment Chuenzi couldn't be found anywhere. "The tree we practiced under last night." At that moment of chaos, a child's voice suddenly called out from the nearby woods. The old man sat alone in the forest, but kept calling out in a child's voice, "Come on, take me to play, take me to ride the horse." The strong figure of Chuenzi frightened the tiger for a moment. What does this old man want to do so early in the morning? But then his eyes lit up, suddenly noticed the tree next to the old man. This is where he practiced last night. Chuenzi came here to practice last night. To my surprise, upon returning, I found myself bleeding. As soon as the sun rose, Uncle Lio let Chuenzi lead the way, came to find the place where he practiced last night. In the blink of an eye, the old man has now approached Uncle Lio. Uncle Lio asked the elder, "Are you here to train?" But the old man still had drool all over his mouth, said with a foolish smile, "You take me out to play." This voice is clearly that of a child. It is obvious. This old man is possessed by an evil spirit. Then Uncle Lio grabbed the old man's wrist. "All right, let's go. I'll take you out to have some fun now." Before the voice fell silent, a talisman paper is affixed to the old man's forehead. Uncle Lio waved his hand. He quickly threw out another talisman and stuck it to the tree. Only the grass moved with the wind around the tree. Rustling sound. Uncle Lio took out a brush and splashed ink on the tree trunk. In an instant, 3 rows of golden characters were written. In the end, Ling Kong wrote down a crimson wrinkle, directly flew past the old man towards the willow behind him. In an instant, there was a loud crash under the tree. 10,000 willow branches dance in the wind, soaring upwards. At that moment, a surge of malevolent energy suddenly erupted from the old man's body. In the blink of an eye, it vanished into the air. Uncle Lio tore off the talisman paper from the old man's head. The old man suddenly seemed to have lost his memory. "Inquire about who Uncle Lio is." Uncle Lio explained. They were just asking for directions. So the old man fearfully urged them to ask someone else, suddenly turned and hurried away. Later, Uncle Lio brought Chuenzi to the tree. "Light a stick of incense. Bowing in worship. Don't blame the mountain friends." A young boy mistakenly entered this place. Disturbing the slumber was truly unintentional. Today I invite my mountain friend to leave. From now on, every year on July 15th, I will come to pay my respects. Uncle Lio finished speaking. He inserted the incense into the soil beneath the tree. Then I reached out to grab my bag. When Chuenzi took a look, it turns out to be a bronze coin sword. Uncle Lio pointed his sword at Chuenzi's throat. The hands beneath the string trembled slightly. Yet he did not realize that an eagle-scaled creature was perched on his shoulder, laughing heartily, emitting a faint dark aura. In an instant, the dark energy was absorbed by the copper coin sword. Draw a small mouth on the middle finger. The moment black blood dripped into the soil, the underground began to make a rustling sound. Suddenly, a mouse emerged from the ground at the bleeding spot. Every 2 steps he would stumble and fall. The eyes turned white, emitting a faint dark aura. Chuenzi was taken aback. "This is actually poisonous. Immediately ask Uncle Lio if anything is wrong. Uncle Lio is doing well at this time." He turned his head to ask Chuenzi, "Did you hear any sounds just now?" The string answered, "It seems to be the laughter of an eagle." Upon hearing this, Uncle Lio sighed and looked up. At first he thought that Chuenzi had provoked the old tree spirit. It is now clear that there is an eagle's scale in this forest, and most likely in this willow tree next to Chuenzi. When Chuenzi heard this, he was so frightened that he immediately dodged away. He asked Uncle Lio, "Is Yinglin the dead eagle child?" Uncle Lio told Chuenzi, "After a person dies, they will become a ghost. But there are two types of people who are particularly prone to becoming vengeful spirits. One type is the person who feels unwilling to accept their fate, for example, being persecuted to death. There is also a kind called eagle child. Due to the brevity of life, once they die, they transform into vengeful eagle's scales. There is a saying, 'Even to this day I am still misunderstood.' It is said that the king of hell is easy to please, but the little ghosts are hard to deal with. The little ghost here refers to Yinglin, although I just helped Chuenzi disperse the eagle's scales. But he didn't understand why this thing appeared here. It seems we need to invite an expert over." Chuenzi's confusion. "Expert? Aren't you the expert?" Uncle Lio made a phone call. Officer Wu quickly arrived. Chuenzi was very surprised. "Is this the expert you were talking about?" Uncle Lio told Chuenzi, "This could be a criminal case. Officer Wu should come and verify it again." Uncle Lio explained the ins and outs of the situation. "Tell Officer Wu." Officer Wu said nothing further. "Immediately have my men bring the chainsaw. Cut the willow tree directly." The inside of the sawn-off willow tree was hollow. It surprisingly exuded a faint, ominous aura. Officer Wu stepped forward to take a look. "There are blood stains on the tree." Master Lio picked up the branch from the ground, stirred around in the tree stump. Before long it caught something. "Take a look when it's pulled out." It was actually the body of a baby. Officer Wu quickly instructed his subordinates to notify the department to send someone for the investigation. Suddenly turned around and was about to step forward. But Master Lio stopped him. Master Lio warned him, "This baby is infused with a strange poison, absolutely unreliable to approach. Seeing the insects and ants around the baby scurrying away, I just know how toxic it is." Officer Wu also caught a strong scent of medicine at this moment. "It must have come from the cause of death before us." Master Lio told them, "This baby was drowned in poison and died in agony. The only purpose of doing this is one. I just want the poison to seep into the body through the baby's pores, thus preventing the growth of decay bacteria both inside and outside the corpse." Officer Wu listened with a sweet tone. "That's really vicious. What is the purpose of doing this?" Master Lio was heartbroken at this moment. From the perspective of the infant's death, the killer's intention should be to raise the infant official. There has been a saying in the Jiangnan region since ancient times, "Using the souls of the living to nourish the willow tree." Then they took willow trees to make coffins. Buried in this coffin, it not only stabilizes the souls of the deceased, it can also bless the deceased to enjoy wealth and honor in the afterlife. So Master Lio asserted, someone must want to make a willow wood infant coffin for oneself or family to use after death. Officer Wu was infuriated after listening. "This is simply absurd." Then Master Lio pointed out again. The cause of death was clearly drowning in poison, but with a smiling face. So he deduced that this willow tree had already been nurtured into a baby willow. It has the power to calm the souls of the deceased. But Chuenzi didn't understand this. Since the soul of the deceased has found peace, So why did you still get on him last night?" Master Lyo expressed his bewilderment at the issue with the skewers. "That's not you killing chickens and drinking their blood in the middle of the night. Did you actively invite the ghost to possess you?" Master Lyo then told Officer Wu, "A willow tree can only make one coffin." Upon hearing this, Officer Wu instantly understood Master Lyo's meaning. "You mean to say the murderer may continue to commit crimes. Hell others care for Liu Yin Mo." Officer Wu was filled with rage. "Immediately order the subordinates to inform the Bureau. Investigate the relevant authorities and construction parties of this park. We need to investigate the source of this batch of trees thoroughly." Upon hearing this, Chuanzi couldn't help but feel a chill of fear. There is actually more than one baby victim. What a truly vicious heart! Master Lyo patted Chuanzi's shoulder and comforted him. "Everything is predestined. It's not that I won't report. The time has not yet come." On the way back, Chuanzi kept thinking about this matter. Why do some people act out of selfish desires? How could someone do such a heartless thing? Just like the transport snake bones buried in his old house before. Liu Hue's family caused Chuanzi to be weak and sickly since childhood. The troubles at home keep piling up. But Chuanzi holds no grudges. Although his childhood was very unhappy, but at least his family loves him very much. He also met Uncle Lyo because of this. It can also be considered a blessing in disguise. Uncle Lyo told Chuanzi, "If you want to do something for the baby, just ask Officer Wu more. Stay updated on the case progress." Chuanzi did not understand the meaning of Uncle Lyo's words at that time. Thought Uncle Lyo was just asking him to care about the case progress. In the end, we can see the criminals brought to justice. Then we can untie the knots in our hearts. In fact, Chuanzi just did as told. He calls every day to inquire about Officer Wu's case progress. Officer Wu quickly identified the suspect. The other party was indeed the contractor building the park. At the moment the news arrived, Chuanzi felt a huge weight lifted off his shoulders. "I feel much lighter. In fact, there is indeed a sinister aura behind him. Left his body. Suddenly left in an instant." Uncle Lyo told Chuanzi to eat well. As the saying goes, grievances have their origins and debts have their owners. Since we have found the murderer, Chuanzi did his best. The remaining consequences are beyond their control. Chuanzi is drunk late tonight. Just returned to the shop entrance. Then I saw someone knocking on the door. He thought the other person wanted a haircut. He staggered forward, tipsy, and patted the person's shoulder. "I want to tell the other party. Today, the barber shop closed. If you want to cut your hair, come back tomorrow." As soon as the other person turned around, they revealed a bloody skull. Chuanzi was startled on the spot. In an instant, the skeleton spat out a mouthful of mud smoke at Chuanzi. Chuanzi suddenly sat down hard on the ground. Just as I was about to get up, I realized I couldn't move at all. When I looked up, the skeleton has turned and left, only left with Chuanzi alone, sitting alone in the wind, endured the biting cold wind. Are we really going to make it until dawn like this? Chuanzi felt like he was going to freeze to death. At that moment, Chuanzi suddenly smelled a medicinal scent. I opened my eyes and saw. I was surprised to see a medicine bottle handed to me. My nose itches. Suddenly sneezed. My body can actually move. The person needed is Uncle Lyo. Uncle Lyo stood under the streetlight, lost in thought and softly murmuring, "It seems you've been poisoned by the mandala concoction." Chuanzi finally calmed down, shouted loudly, "Uncle Lyo, I saw a ghost again today." Uncle Lyo told him, That is definitely not a ghost. Where is the logic in using a sedative to control spirits? But that person's face was indeed a bloody skull. Chuenzi claimed he could see everything clearly. Uncle Lio can come to see. That person just now was a thief. Chuenzi thought Uncle Lio was joking. Uncle Lio asked him to check the cash register. As expected, the cash register drawer was already empty. Only 6 dimes left. Facing the stolen cash register, Chuenzi cried out to the heavens in despair. Damn little thief! How should I celebrate the new year? At this moment, Uncle Lio still had a calm expression. Chuenzi, the person you met tonight. He is actually a master in the world of thieves. Chuenzi cannot understand. Thieving door. Is it also a type of sealing door technique? Uncle Lio told him. The true master of the thief's gate, known as the 7 treasures and 7 strategies, belongs to the art of petty theft. But the strings do not understand. He saw that person. The other person clearly hasn't entered the door, just knocked twice on the roller shutter. Can this really steal the money? Uncle Lio continued to explain. In addition to the skills of crowing roosters and stealing dogs, the 7 treasures and 7 schemes, there is also the dark fortune blessing technique, Dingguo Huashishu, herbal stick body technique, backlight shadow technique, Kanki Yuwashu airborne object manipulation technique, because con artists are also considered part of the thief's world. The last skill of Kai Bao Kai Mo is no longer considered thievery, but rather a scheme for deceiving and profiting. An old soldier who previously trained field mice. He is a master of the bone fixation sliding technique. What Chuenzi encountered tonight is a master of the immortal grass stick technique. Those who practice this technique rely entirely on medicine, administering a narcotic, panhuazi. It was all done by these people. It is beautifully named Zion Cow. It's actually a variety of concocted mind-altering drugs. The ghostly face from just now can be explained easily. The other party noticed someone was following them from behind, then secretly put on the mask. There is only one purpose for doing this. It's just to distract others, looking for the right moment to administer the drug. After Uncle Lio's explanation, Chuenzi suddenly realized. He thought only his family had been robbed. I didn't expect that early the next morning. Officer Wu visited while handling a case. They finally realized. Last night, all the shops on the pedestrian street, all were looted clean. Although the loss amounts are not significant, a few thousand more, a few dozen yuan less. But combined over 100 shots. That's quite a number. Moreover, this case is quite peculiar. The stolen store, many have duty personnel and surveillance equipment, but there was no trace of the thief to be found. Uncle Lio pondered for a moment. Inquire about the string. Was that thief knocking on doors all the way last night? Chuenzi reminisced. Indeed, the thief not only knocked on the door, even knocked on the windows. Uncle Lio listened, bowing my head in deep thought. He roughly knows what's going on. So he turned his head and let it go. Go to the seafood market and buy a few bags of ice. Uncle Lio then took Chuenzi to the back alley. Chuenzi is very curious. What did Uncle Lio bring him to the back alley for? Uncle Lio placed a cup in the center of the open space. Pour a bag of powder into the cup. Then strike a match and toss it into the cup. Time is short. The cup began to hiss. White smoke billows out. The string calls out, buzzing behind. Then they saw in the corners around them. Suddenly, many mice crawled out. They all gathered in the empty lot in the back alley. They were all drawn in by the white smoke in the cup. At this moment, Uncle Lio took the opportunity to throw out a burlap cloth, cover the swarming mice. With a single grasp, all the mice were captured. Chuenzi saw a sack full of mice and felt a chill run down his spine. Uncle Lio immediately made a bag of iced rat family bucket with ice cubes. In the blink of an eye, all the mice in the sack froze to death. Everything is ready. Uncle Lio called Officer Wu to come over. Tonight, Uncle Lio will help him catch the thief. Last night, all the shops on the pedestrian street were robbed. Officer Wu was quite troubled by this matter, upon hearing that Master Lio would help him with his urgent predicament. Immediately rushed over. Master Lio asked Officer Wu to take them to one of the vents in the pedestrian street shops. Let the string carry ice cubes and ice mice. Not long after, everyone arrived at a ventilation valve on the roof of the pedestrian street mall. Uncle Lio poured all the mice into the ventilation valve. Let Officer Wu wait a moment. Don't pour in the ice cubes yet. Suddenly, a noise came from the ventilation duct. Uncle Lio then instructed Officer Wu to pour all the ice cubes in. Immediately after, Uncle Lio asked Officer Wu to contact the mall management to turn on the air conditioning in the store. Soon after, it's about time. Uncle Lio held the pocket watch in his hand. Let everyone open the ventilation window. Then Officer Wu and his subordinates opened the ventilation cover, shining a flashlight inside. I saw that the ventilation duct was actually filled with snakes. These snakes ate the moving mice and blew cold air. Now everyone is unable to move. Officer Wu ordered his subordinates to catch all these snakes. Curiosity inevitably arises in my heart. It's truly unbelievable. Where did all these snakes come from? Master Lio told him. Someone definitely put it in there. This is actually not difficult. As long as you understand the art of serpent taming, it can be done easily. Moreover, these snakes are the culprits behind the stolen money. It is impossible for a person to steal from over 100 shops in one night without leaving a trace. But if we have these snakes to help, it can definitely be done. Just let these snakes come down from the vent. Just take the money from the drawer. This is also the reason why the stolen money isn't a large amount. Because a snake cannot open a safe. They can only sneak into drawers and cabinets where security measures are lax to steal valuables. Stealing at night is very exhausting. The thief must be sleeping during the day. Come back after a good rest in the evening. Officer Wu immediately arranged for police forces to be stationed at various spots on the pedestrian street. Until midnight 12. A mysterious figure suddenly appeared in the empty pedestrian street. The thief immediately notified each group to carry out the capture action. At the end of the pedestrian street, a police car screeched in. A sudden turn flung them behind the thief. The police got out of the car and surrounded them. The thief shouted as he rushed. "Don't move." The thief shouted a word in Chinese. The police in front of me all suddenly slipped and fell to the ground. Chuenzi and Officer Wu couldn't help but sigh. You really know magic. At that moment, Officer Wu was about to draw his gun and shoot. But he was stopped by Uncle Lio. Uncle Lio told him, "This is the technique of sliding through. Can be cracked. Just take off your shoes and go chase him." Chuenzi immediately ran up barefoot. The thief hadn't had time to react. I turned my head and saw Chuenzi had already pounced over. Chuenzi quickly tackled the opponent, shouting loudly, "Give me my money back." In this way, the blonde thief was handcuffed by the police. But the other party was quite unconvinced. I didn't break any laws. On what basis can the police arrest him? Chuenzi told him, "The snakes you released have all been captured by the police." The evidence is conclusive. Yukak pointed out again. Huang Mao listened. I see. All right then. Afterwards, the blonde got into the police car, looking at the string of lights outside the car window, sighing in my heart. Finally found you. After the police car drove away, Uncle Lio was filled with doubt. This person clearly has significant abilities. Watching the police car fade into the distance, Uncle Lio can only hope so. The next morning, Xuanzi is giving a haircut to a customer in the shop. Unexpectedly, Officer Wu came to the store again. They said the thief caught last night was named Liuoqi. Now I'm calling you out directly to meet Xuanzi. Xuanzi is quite peculiar. I don't even know him at all, but to cooperate with Officer Wu's work. In the end, I followed Officer Wu to the police station, arrived at the interrogation room. As soon as the thread was pulled, the door was opened and the mountain was in sight. Speak. What do you need from me? Little did they know, Rocky said, Brother, I've been looking for you for a long time. Xuanzi looked confused. Have we met before? Rocky continued to smile brightly and said, We didn't know each other before. Now we know each other right. After speaking, I'll introduce myself. He reached out his hand towards the skewer. Xuanzi ignored it. I think this guy is definitely looking for an excuse to escape. That's why they are being so mysterious. Advise him to honestly confess to the police. Otherwise, the words remain unspoken. Xuanzi discovered his left hand, actually handcuffed to the table leg, and the handcuffs of Rocky across the way, but has already vanished into thin air. Liuoqi claimed, if he wants to leave, no one can stop them at all. Now I just want to have a calm conversation with Xuanzi. Then he changed the handcuffs back again. Xuanzi was very surprised by this. When did these handcuffs go back? Rocky told him to stop pretending. You have already broken my previous slippery techniques. There's no need to act so surprised over such a little trick. Xuanzi explained. The one who previously used the burlock sliding technique was not him. Rachai immediately became angry. Do you think the sliding technique is like an eagle catching a chick? Can anyone break it? Xuanzi quickly explained that it was his master who broke it. Your master. Rocky was a bit confused after hearing that. You mentioned the master. Are you referring to the middle-aged man next to you last night? At that moment, Officer Wu hurried over upon hearing the noise. Xuanzi told him, actually, nothing much happened. The other party is a bit emotionally out of control. At that moment, Rocky suddenly said two words softly. Wanbei. He said to Xuanzi, when you go back, tell your master these two words, Wanbei. He will definitely come to find me after hearing this. Have you heard of Wanbei? That is a chilling place name. Legend has it that an incident once occurred there, the massacre of a family in the wetlands. In 1872, a certain noble from Russia once traveled to a region in southern Guangxi, China. A shipment of special goods was sent. Later, one item from that batch of goods was unexpectedly lost. The entire village couldn't even find a complete corpse. No one knows what happened there. And after that night, the only clue left behind, only the row of Russian on the wall of the barefoot doctor's house in the village. Someone has translated it before. The general meaning is, with me one. Immortality. For the supreme demon. Xuanzi Asian. Daluo Chajizun translates to great Rakshasa's honor or respect of the great Rakshasa. Uncle Lio asked him, how did the people of the Qing dynasty refer to the Tsarist Russia? The string is not very certain. It seems to be called the Rakshasa kingdom. That's right. It is the land of the Rakshasas. So some interpret that. The term Yuachajizan refers to the Russian nobility, but some people say the supreme Rakshasa is not human, but refers to zombies, because there is no concept of zombies in the Chuanmen. So for the corpse that does not decay, those in the Chuanmen sect are divided into two categories. One type is Waiba, one type is the Rakshasa. Therefore, some say that the villagers of Wanbei village, they were all killed by an old Russian golden retriever zombie. The reason the Russian nobility did this: I just want to turn Wanbei village into a wasteland, to cover up their family's treasure. Upon hearing the words treasure, Xuanzi was immediately filled with excitement. According to this, finding Wanbei village will lead to this treasure, Wanbei Yisai. The story is also told by others. Just last night, Uncle Lio helped Officer Wu catch a thief. Little did the thief know he had arrived at the police station. Just specifically asked to see Master Lio. Let Chuanzi take it to Master Lio. It is precisely these two words, Wanbei. Uncle Lio was very shocked after hearing this. He knows the person who entered through the door has something in their hand. There will be a treasure map of the world. Most people would think this is a fake. Uncle Lio did not know through what means this thief was operating. The authenticity of Wanbei village has been confirmed. But what he knows is, this guy must be a master of the deist arts. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any courage at all. Intending to head to the once lost territory of the Death Tribe, Chuanzi thinks this is reliable. Lai Ma pulled Uncle Lio to go to the police station to rescue someone. Otherwise, the treasure will be lost. Uncle Lio told him not to panic. A true master of the deist way cannot be subdued by the police. They are just waiting for a worthy partner to collaborate with. Uncle Lio put down his teacup and pushed open the shop door. Let's go, Chuanzi. Let's go meet him. They are all people from the martial arts world. If we can turn weapons into peace. Of course, it's the best. Not long after, Uncle Lio arrived at the police station entrance. Look up at the police station above. The Lu Mu Jin gang still stands tall as before. Arriving at the interrogation room, the thief Rocky is sitting across from me. Uncle Lio asked right away, "Why should I trust you?" Rocky handed over a key. "Tell Uncle Lio, there is something in locker number 893 at Shenjia Supermarket. Uncle Lio will understand after seeing it." Uncle Lio sent Chuanzi to Shenjia Supermarket. Chuanzi opened the locker with the key given by Luoki. I found only a box of videotapes inside. In the police station's conference room, Uncle Lio was puzzled when he got the videotape. So he asked Officer Wu for help to play it. After inserting the videotape into the machine, the screen on the television began to display images. Do you know the origin of Master Zhen? In the era of the Chen dynasty, a Taoist named Lai Xuanzong was proficient in Taoist magic, created a talisman, can summon heavenly fire to burn zombies, known as Master Zhen. It is a technique that must be learned in the lineage of the Xuanmen art. Now this kind of master craftsman unexpectedly appeared in a secretly filmed video. A brown bear in the scene is about to swim. At that moment, suddenly a glimmer of gold flashed in the stream before the brown bear. Suddenly, the calm stream erupted into turbulent waves. Under the blue sky and white sun, suddenly a golden ghostly face appeared amidst the giant waves. The ghostly face suddenly opened its blood-red mouth and lunged at the brown bear. In an instant, the brown bear was submerged in water. The clear stream suddenly roiled with large patches of crimson blood. Finally, the brown bear completely disappeared without a trace. Officer Wu and the trio watched the videotape. Everyone was astonished. At that moment, an even more astonishing scene unfolded. The golden ghost face emerged again from the blood-red stream. Taking a closer look, on the forehead of that ghostly face there was actually a blood-red symbol glowing brightly. The screen suddenly went dark. The screen turned into a flurry of snowflakes. Officer Wu was very angry after watching. What can this indicate? Is someone filming a horror movie? He felt like that young punk had played him. So he immediately ran to the interrogation room, questioning what this bag given by Rocky really means. At this moment, Ryuoki remained calm as ever. He told Officer Wu, "The person who filmed this video is currently a director at the National Television Documentary Department, named Chang Yu-gui. You can definitely find this person through police channels to verify the authenticity of the video. Secondly, the talisman on the golden figure's head. Anyone who has studied the practices of the Xuanmin school knows its uses." This last sentence was clearly addressed to Master Liao. Master Liao fell silent for a moment, finally nodded in agreement. That talisman is indeed authentic from Master Zhen. Officer Wu was very shocked after hearing this. So that golden figure in the water is actually a zombie. Uncle Liao replied, "If Master Zhen is real, then the creature in the water must be a zombie." Officer Wu felt increasingly disturbed. After that, he discussed for a long time with Master Liao in the interrogation room. In the end, Uncle Liao left the police station with the string of sausages. On the way back, Xuanzi asked Uncle Liao, "How is this said? Are we really going to Wangbei village with that Liu Kai? Even if the treasure is really found there, will that kid willingly hand over the treasure to us then?" Uncle Liao told Xuanzi, "Some things cannot be measured solely by interests. Think about it. Liu Kai possesses extraordinary skills. It's impossible not to have a familiar face around. Then why didn't he seek help from acquaintances? To find the person within the gate using the method of strengthening luck. I really didn't expect this string." Uncle Liao explained, "This principle is very simple, because Liu Kai does not trust those people. Now the string is even more confusing, since even friends and family don't believe it. Then why do they still trust us?" Uncle Liao smiled and said, "Isn't there still a police officer going with us?" Xuanzi suddenly realized. It turns out Liu Kai deliberately got caught by the police last night. No wonder it's so easy to get caught. Not long after, Officer Wu relayed the news. They have already contacted the director that Liu Kai mentioned. That box of bags was indeed made by him, and ensure there is no forgery. The video was filmed in a primeval forest at the border between Guangxi and Vietnam. The reason for going there to film? It is because news came that wild tigers have been spotted in the area. So Cheng Yuguo took the production crew in areas with local water sources, installed wooden stake cameras in 4 locations. This video captures one of those scenes. They immediately called the police upon seeing this scene, but the investigation into the case ultimately came to nothing. The crew quickly evacuated upon seeing the anomaly. So at that time, no one was injured. Master Liao hesitated for a long time at the counter. In the end, I decided to take a trip to Bacon. Ask Officer Wu if he is willing to cooperate. Officer Wu naturally trusts Master Liao, but still advise Master Liao not to only listen to Rocky's side of the story. Just rush over. What if the treasure has already been taken by someone? Didn't we just make a pointless trip? Master Liao firmly stated that it was impossible, that spiritual zombie is the gateway to treasure. The door is where the treasure lies. Officer Wu saw Master Liao so certain. No more words will be said. Express willingness to cooperate. Uncle Liao's decision surprised Xuanzi. He sensed that a new adventure was about to begin. But before that, there was a little interlude. After the landslide, a huge eyeball suddenly appeared on the cliff face. Just last night, Lincoln City experienced a heavy rainstorm all night. Uncle Lio stood at the door, looking at the torrential rain outside the house. This rain seems a bit unusual. Suddenly, an emergency bulletin interrupted the radio. Lotus Mountain located in the outskirts of Lincoln City. A mudslide occurred due to the heavy rainfall. The incident resulted in 2 deaths. The cause of death is still under further investigation. Uncle Lio felt that this matter was somewhat unusual. Suddenly, the phone rang. It was Officer Wu calling from the crime scene, the Lotus Mountain mudslide incident. The situation at the scene is very strange. I would like to invite Master Lio to come in person. The 2 victims at the crime scene had horrifying deaths. All are in a state of collapse. This refers to the state of experiencing a heart attack when a person suddenly receives a severe shock. Both corpses had internal bleeding without any external wounds. It is clear that they had died before falling off the cliff, since it wasn't a fatal fall. Officer Wu felt it was likely a death from fright. But Master Lio said, people involved in mountain restoration work year-round in deep forests. Courage is much greater than that of an average person. The 2 workers were instantly terrified to death. It is clear how terrifying the scene they encountered was. Officer Wu guessed it must be the reason for seeing that thing on the mountain. Officer Wu just went to take a look. That thing appeared on the mountainside after the landslide. If I hadn't been mentally prepared beforehand, with colleagues by my side, he might also be scared to death. Xuanzi is curious about what this terrifying thing is. He actually wants to take a look. Officer Wu leads the way ahead. Uncle Lio and Xuanzi followed closely behind. The moment the 2 saw that thing, almost scared me to death. A gigantic eyeball suddenly appeared in the muddy cliff. It felt as if a giant hidden within the mountain was staring intently at me. Xuanzi was taken aback. This is an eye. Uncle Lio did not answer directly, but instead they talked about Lotus Mountain. This mountain is magnificent like a lotus flower, originally a place of auspiciousness. There are no water sources in the mountains or outside them. Without water, the lotus naturally withers. So the Lotus Mountain is only sparsely populated. It was almost a bare stone mountain. Xuanzi looked around. It really is like that. Master Lio had long sensed that the feng shui of this place was ominous. But little did I expect that this mountain held another secret. After talking for a long time, Xuanzi still hasn't figured it out. What kind of monster is this big-eyed creature in the mountains? Uncle Lio told him. Anyway, it won't be a person. Lotus Mountain cannot grow fire. Immediately after, Uncle Lio stepped forward and reached out to touch. Confirm that this eyeball is made of glass. No wonder it's so realistic. Then he asked Xuanzi to bring a shovel. He wants to dig a little. Time is short. Uncle Lio dug out a piece of mud beneath the eyeball. Uncle Lio asserted based on this. This is a clay sculpture of a celestial beast, also known as the mountain demon. Officer Wu wants to know what this thing is all about. Uncle Lio replied, this thing has a significant background. Legend has it that back in the day, Chai Yu and Xuan Yu and she hunt in the Central Plains. The red journey cuts through the Central Plains dragon vein, using the soil from graves across the world to bury the dead, built 108 Tianhuang beasts. Then it was buried in the mountains of the Yellow River Basin. To ride the dragon vein in this way, the Huaxia nation began at the Yellow River. If one were to sever 108 mountain veins in succession, it is equivalent to burying the foundation of Huaxia. However, later after the defeat of Chiyu. This matter ultimately could not be completed. Lion-Hua Mountain lacks spring water pathways, but never has a clear spring flowed out from the mountain. As long as we destroy this statue on the mountainside, Uncle Lio guarantees, in less than 3 years, the Lotus Flower Mountain can become a major attraction of Linquin City. Uncle Lio was speaking. The eyeball behind me suddenly burst open. A ball of black mist sprang out from the crack. Chuenzi Giant Shuang shouted loudly, "Uncle Lio, be careful." Suddenly, the black mist transformed into a gigantic python, directly pounced on Uncle Lio. In an instant, Uncle Lio couldn't dodge in time, was swallowed whole by a giant python. After a night of heavy rain, a giant eyeball unexpectedly appeared in the mountain. Suddenly, the eyeball shattered. Suddenly, a giant green python sprang out from inside. The giant python lunged straight at Uncle Lio. Chuenzi and Officer Wu were filled with terror. At the critical moment, everyone fought with reckless abandon. I want to rush in to protect Uncle Lio, but in the end, it was still too late. I could only watch helplessly as Uncle Lio was swallowed by the giant snake. After finishing Uncle Lio, the green python spit out an apricot, looming in front of Chuenzi and Officer Wu, suddenly evolving into blue smoke, dissipating with the wind. A figure slowly emerges from the smoke. It was Uncle Lio, who had just been eaten. Uncle Lio explained, "This is a snake scale. It is the soul transformed from a snake that has lived for over 1,000 years after its death. They mostly linger on due to their attachment to their nests. Occasionally transforms into a snake to scare people. But in reality, there is no harm." Seeing Uncle Lio safe and sound. After his explanation, Chuenzi and Officer Wu finally felt completely at ease. "I was really scared just now." Officer Wu followed Master Lio's instructions, sending people to dig 3 feet deep around the Lotus Mountain. Finally, the statue containing the eyeball was unearthed. According to Master Lio's words, this statue is called Tian Huang Beast, a giant humanoid creature with a large head, small body, and covered in scales. The destruction of the Feng Shui of Lion-Hua Mountain is all thanks to him. Officer Wu immediately led his subordinates to smash and burn the statue. A few days later, the withered Lotus Mountain has a clear spring flowing out. Later, the greening management unit specifically set up at the foot of the mountain. A pond made of white jade was built, used to store mountain spring water. Once barren Lotus Mountain. Now it has become a well-known place, the Evergreen Mountain. Not long after this incident, Officer Wu brought some good news. The higher-ups at the police station approved their treasure hunting expedition to Guangxi, except for Master Lio, Chuenzi, and Rocky. The Municipal Bureau also arranged for 2 criminal police officers and an artifact appraisal expert to accompany them. When Chuenzi heard that he could also get one